Chapter 5 Heroes. Blue. A cold midnight blue washed over the cloud layer, illuminated by Luna's moon. The Scion Pegasus had always admired the sight, simply for the color, if nothing else. It always granted her a sense of numbing peace. It was her favorite color. The deep, flowing sapphire could only be justified by a natural moonlight. No pain or picture could ever capture the color in its pure, undaunted light. Tonight, however, Rainbow Dash couldn't find peace in the sight. Instead, she couldn't help but find the color burying her deeper into her depression. Nothing made her smile anymore. Nothing could repair the damage done to her being. Everything in her life had ended. Her job, her pride, her friendship with the pony she couldn't help but love, and the worst of all, her spirit. Her brain felt numb, as if it had been beaten past sanity. She couldn't move, she couldn't think, but she could still feel. Only if it was nothing but the ache in her chest. Now Rainbow Dash understood what the term broken heart had meant. It literally felt broken, like some pony had physically cracked it in twine. Rainbow Dash had retreated into the highest clouds above Ponyville, sitting on her haunches and gazing at the moon, wishing that it would all somehow heal her tattered soul. It was a silly thought, but it was the only thing reminding her that she was still alive, if one could even call it that, staring directly into the light for an unknown amount of time. Finally, Rainbow found the strength to look away, down towards the ground far below. From here, all of Ponyville was visible, like a meticulous miniature model that had belonged to a foal at play. The clock tower that was Town Hall didn't seem so high now. Dash felt like she was in a different world up here, like the earth was in a completely different dimension. Maybe this was what the ground looked like from heaven. Heaven. A tale that her parents had told her about. A land made up in the sky for the purest and decent hearts. Up in the sky, just like Rainbow Dash had liked it. Far away from her cares, her problems, and her home. Could she even call it home anymore? It certainly didn't feel like that. Maybe this heaven wasn't much of a bad idea. Would she have made it there? Rainbow Dash knew for a fact her parents had made it there. Heaven couldn't ask for two purer souls. Her mother and father had been the kindest parents any foal could ask for. They taught her to be strong, but they also tried to show her humility, something Dash never truly grasped. Her father, Lightning Dash, had been the closest pony ever to come to the sonic rainboom. It was his life's dream to accomplish the technique, but perished soon after reaching Mach 1, breaching just past the sound barrier. The day Rainbow Dash had performed the world's first sonic rainboom, she had visited her parents' grave.
"I did it, Dad,"
she said all those years ago.
"I did it. Did you see? I guess I just wish you were there to see it up close. And not all that way from heaven. It was pretty bright, though, and so much bigger than any pony ever thought. But I guess I did brag a little bit. Sorry, Mom. I just hope you two are proud. That's all I want."
The memory had very seldom crossed her mind, and when it did, Dash would find herself smiling stupidly, tears rolling down her trembling face. But it was too late now. Her eyes had forgotten how to produce tears at this point, and the thought merely slammed itself into the barrier around her mind that was her broken spirit. The thought raced through her mind like a hummingbird scouting for food. Heaven. It seems like a good risk to take. She could simply leave this unforgiving world behind and finally see her parents again. Rainbow Dash had never wanted to see them more than ever right now, when her life was at its lowest point, when her proud heart was at its weakest. She imagined their love and hugs and dispersal of her pain. She imagined their love and hugs could dispel her pain, blow it away like a leaf in the breeze. It was all so simple. Her solution to everything was a mere drop to the ground below. If it was so easy, why was she still sitting on the cloud? What was holding her back? Rainbow had nothing in this world to stick around for except pain. Her family was waiting for her, and all it took was for her to lean forward and close her eyes, letting gravity take her life of misery and put it all behind her, never to be thought of again. It was so easy. And yet Rainbow Dash simply stayed there, merely thinking and not acting. Her parents, even in heaven, would never accept their daughter taking her own life. Even if she made it there on those terms, they died true, honest, and hard-working ponies and never deserved such a fate. Rainbow Dash vaguely recalled the night she returned home from her first day of flight school to find her home quiet. It had only taken her a few minutes to find the bloody bodies of Lightning Dash and Thunderboom, cold and lifeless in the middle of the floor. She remembered looking up at the window through tear-filled eyes to see a large creature, shrouded in darkness from the night sky, flying off without a single word. Her parents had been murdered that night, the two most beloved ponies in all of Cloudsdale, gone without justice or reason.
Mom, Dad, it's me, Rainbow.
Dash choked out, her voice hoarse.
I know I haven't talked to you in years, but I just wanted to say I love you and that I miss you.
Rainbow paused for a beat, taking a shuddering breath.
Actually, that's not all I wanted to say.
She continued, gazing up to the stars.
I wish you were here, 'cause I sure could use your help. I don't know what to do anymore. My life is just falling apart. I don't know if I can pick up the pieces. It's just so hard. And I don't know why. I can't catch a break.
Rainbow Dash had to pause again, screwing her eyes shut as her face grew wet with tears.
Well, why can't you two be here right now? Even if it was for just one hug. That's all I want. I don't care if I die tomorrow. If I could just have one last hug.
Rainbow Dash broke down into a new wave of sorrow, her tears warming her cold, tired face, dripping right through the cloud and down to the ground. She sobbed into her hooves, her wailing muffled by the cloud as she let her face drop into it. She hadn't thought about her parents like that in years. Although the memories brought her pain, she felt a warm sense of life blossoming in her soul. Rainbow was crying because she was alive.
Just give me a sign. Anything at all.
As soon as she ended that sentence, the still, cold night air suddenly shifted and blew through her prismatic mane. As if despite the cold night, the gust was as warm as a summer's day, causing the Pegasus to blink a couple of times. It was warm, and somehow reassuring. The breeze was so audible, Rainbow didn't know if she was hearing things when it seemed to whisper, "We're so proud of you." Rainbow Dash's eyes widened, brimming with tears.
Mom, Dad.
Applejack sat there, About 100 feet below the Pegasus on the cloud of her own, her face was drenched with tears, her breath shuddering in small, inaudible gasps. The orange earth pony had heard everything. Rainbow Dash sat above her, speaking to her deceased parents and crying out into the night. Applejack did all that she could to keep quiet, careful not to let her friend hear her sobs and gasps of sorrowful words. Her heavy heart doubled its weight as she watched Rainbow mourn the loss she had experienced all those years ago. Applejack had never known that her friend's parents had passed. The Pegasus spoke as if she were a wounded filly, crying out desperately for her lost and broken family. Rainbow had exposed a facet of her personality that Applejack had never known existed, her tainted past. Watching Rainbow Dash fall apart like that was the saddest thing that the farmer had ever witnessed. It had touched her heart in a way that she couldn't explain. And the orange mare had never felt such sorrow, for herself or any other pony. What her friend was going through wasn't something that she could even handle. Applejack may have been a strong mare, taking care of Sweet Apple Acres alongside her brothers since she was a filly, but she knew that she could never keep her sanity by going through what Rainbow Dash was going through. Finally, the orange earth pony felt her throat tighten, unable to hold back the oncoming wave of tears. As quickly as she could, Applejack leaped from cloud to cloud, descending towards the ground from the path she took to rise. Once she hit the grass, her friends ran over to her, asking what had happened with hushed voices. The farmer couldn't look at any of them, but instead clamped her eyes shut.
"Twilight, get me out of here,"
she cried in a whisper.
"Some ponies stick around, but not too close."
Applejack let her tears run freely once inside the library. Accompanied by Twilight and Rarity, both steadied her as she fell onto the couch a mess of sorrow. She hid her face from the world, sobbing into a pillow that she held a firm grip onto with her forehooves.
"Dear Applejack, what happened?"
asked Rarity, rubbing the farmer's back with a gentle stroke of a hoof.
"That poor little filly,"
Applejack managed to say.
She's going through so much. To still be alive after that. What have I done? Why couldn't I have just given her a chance? Why am I so cot-big and thick-headed?"
"Applejack, what are you talking about?" asked Twilight. Although in vain, for the orange mare simply sobbed harder than she had ever in her entire life. Her heart was on fire, feeling an enormous amount of depression for her friend. In that moment she whispered that she did like mares, if only to do whatever she could to numb Rainbow Dash's years of pain and misery. She just wanted to make the poor Pegasus happy again. She needed to see Rainbow fly through the skies again. She needed to hear her boastings of some new trick. She needed her to be Rainbow Dash. It took well over an hour for Applejack to calm down. Knowing how dehydrated she was, Twilight brought her a nice tall glass of water along with ice and a straw. The orange mare threw away the straw, hastily guzzling the glass's contents, chewing on the ice afterwards. Rarity and Twilight simply watched her, their eyes solemn and worried as Applejack sat up. Rarity didn't once wince at her lack of manners, but simply sat next to her on the couch. It was a gesture the farm pony greatly appreciated.
"She was quiet for so long, just staring at the ground from so high up."
Applejack started with a sniff.
"Then she started talking to the stars, to her parents."
"Wait," Twilight breathed. "Her parents are..." Applejack nodded, unsurprised that no pony else had known.
I was just so sad. She spoke to them, saying that she loved them and missed them. She asked for their help, hoping for anything to see them again, she explained. I never knew how could I have known? The way she's always boasting and bragging, how could any pony have known about that? It just makes me feel more and more guilty for not giving her a chance. All I want to do is put my pride aside and kiss her and just take her pain away. I wouldn't have it like that, but if it made her happy,
Applejack trailed off then, not knowing what her mind was thinking anymore. You wanted to kiss her? Asked Twilight perceptively.
Just to at least try and make her feel better. If I did that, it would just hurt her more, knowing that I didn't like mares in the heart. Why couldn't I just be into mares like her? Oh, darling, it's not your fault. And you're right. You can't feign feelings for her, even if it made Rainbow Dash happy. You would be lying not just to yourself, but also to her, which I know you're not capable of doing, said Rarity. Exactly, agreed the purple unicorn. You can't blame yourself anymore, Applejack. In the end, this is just something that Rainbow needs to overcome herself. I was wrong. You weren't the one that needed to help her. Well, some pony needs to help her, Applejack cried. Y'all didn't hear her like I did. If we leave her alone to fix her problems herself, I don't know what she'll do. It's like I said, Rainbow Dash has gone through more than any pony ever should have to deal with. She was on the edge looking down, Twilight. If Fluttershy and Pinkie Pie weren't there right now keeping an eye on her. But at the same time, we can't keep looking after her. How do we fix her, Twi? Please, tell me.
For the first time since they had met, Applejack found Twilight utterly speechless. The violet unicorn averted her gaze, pacing back and forth across the library, clearly searching for an answer. Hey there, said the voice of another mare. Rainbow Dash whipped her head around to find another Pegasus landing next to her on the high cloud. Dash felt her heart skip a beat once she saw who it was. Her mouth hung agape, words becoming a lost virtue. Sitting next to her was a yellow-coated Pegasus with a mane of brilliant flaming yellow and orange. Rainbow felt her eyes widen to the point of falling out. You seem lonely, said Spitfire. Got something on your mind?
Spitfire?
Dash exclaimed.
What are you doing here?
I had to get away from Soren and the others for a bit. I noticed it was a beautiful night, so I took a quick flight, said the captain of the Wonderbolts. That's when I saw you out here. You tend to stick out quite a bit. Spitfire playfully flicked her hoof through Rainbow's mane. The Scion Pegasus flinched, still hopelessly starstruck. The Wonderbolt laughed. It was a sweet sound, so personable and genuine. Why was she, Rainbow Dash's #1 idol, sitting here and talking with her as if they were friends? Rainbow Dash did her best to relax, exhaling through her nose. The last time she was in the Wonderbolt's presence was at the Grand Galloping Gala, even if they didn't much get a chance to talk. So what's going on, Dash? You don't look so good, she asked sincerely. Rainbow was still in shock. Her hero had remembered her name.
Oh, no, it's nothing,
said Rainbow, looking down to the ground below, not wanting to bother a star like her with her problems. Sure doesn't seem like nothing. Look, the uniform isn't on right now, if that helps, said Spitfire, gesturing to herself. Rainbow cast a glance over her. She'd never seen Spitfire out of her Wonderbolt's uniform. It was odd seeing her without it. Dash cursed herself for noticing her elegant curves and toned body. Rainbow quickly looked away again.
Well,
Dash started, unable to believe that she was about to confide in her idol.
it's just love problems.
Love, huh? The yellow Pegasus repeated. So who's the lucky mare? Rainbow Dash whipped her head around once more.
How did you...
She stopped once Spitfire made a gesture, pointing to herself with a sly grin.
Wait, you don't mean... you?
Yep. You get an eye for others like yourself after a while. I don't make a point of letting the public know, so I'd try to keep that to yourself, okay? Rainbow Dash nodded quickly, not doing very well to hide her bewilderment. Spitfire, captain of the Wonderbolts, was just like her. She liked mares too. Dash had wished she had known that years ago. Maybe then she wouldn't have felt like such an outcast as a filly. Suddenly, Rainbow didn't much feel alone in the world. It brought a brief sense of warmth to her heart. So, who is it? That over-the-top drama queen from the Best Young Fly...
Oh, no.
Dash replied in disgust, elated to find a smile spread across her face. Spitfire laughed. I didn't think so. Just giving you a hard time. So who is it? Asked Spitfire, as if she would know the pony in question.
A friend of mine.
Dash admitted, the smile leaving her face.
Her name is Applejack.
Spitfire raised an eyebrow. From Sweet Apple Acres. The pony who keeps winning all those rodeos and farm pony competitions all across Equestria?
Yeah. How do you know?
Asked Dash, amazed. Just because I'm a Wonderbolt doesn't mean I don't have an interest in other ponies with talent, she noted. Oh yeah, she seems a lot more realistic. If I remember correctly, Applejack wasn't a bad-looking pony. Simple kind of beauty, you know? Rainbow Dash knew. She knew indeed. It was something that she always admired about Applejack. The farm pony had a natural beauty, one that makeup nor product could duplicate. Sure, Rarity had her own look too, but it wasn't the same. But it just wasn't something that Rainbow preferred. Dash loved how the farmer looked. Lean body, free-flowing blonde mane, those adorable freckles and those deep green eyes. The thought had made her chest pang again, forcing Rainbow to wince and place a hoof on her stitched wound. Spitfire flashed a concerned look. Oh, are you alright? I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I'm fine,
Dash said, before suddenly doubling over in pain. She coughed several times. Droplets of blood sprang across the cloud on which they sat on. That hadn't happened before. Rainbow Dash shook violently, feeling something hot and wet dripping down her chest. Her forehooves lost their strength, and she fell forward onto the soft, forgiving cloud. Oh my gosh, Dash! Spitfire exclaimed. Come on, get on my back. I'll bring you to my doctor. Rainbow felt the Pegasus dip under her, scooping her up with unexpected ease. She didn't have the strength to argue, but she merely straddled Spitfire's back, wrapping her forehooves around her neck. Spitfire spread her wings and took off into the night, supporting Rainbow's weight without any sort of problem. Dash's forehead had grown hot and feverish. The cold wind did nothing to bring her temperature down. She trembled from the pain, fading in and out of consciousness. Come on, Dash. Stay with me. Rainbow fought the familiar tunnel vision, widening her eyes in hope to stay awake. She swore to herself, feeling weak and helpless in front of her idol. Why was this happening to her? Was she cursed? She had coughed up blood this time, indicating an internal injury, right? Dash hadn't done anything to cause that. The only thing she felt was the pain in her chest, beating weakly. Dash remembered Dr. Stable saying that she had one of the healthiest hearts he had ever seen. Well, so much for that. Her love was destroying her from the inside, tearing her soul and now her body apart.
Why?
Rainbow Dash asked aloud.
Why do I feel this way?
Hang in there, Dash. We're here, said Spitfire's voice. Rainbow opened her eyes to see the city of Cloudsdale on the left. On its edge was a 7-story tower made of enchanted clouds just like the city. Upon its front was a large golden lightning bolt, encircled by a glittering red orb, the crest of the Wonderbolts. Normally, Rainbow Dash would have been freaking out right now, about to enter the Wonderbolts' headquarters, but her condition prevented any sort of movement or complex thought. Rainbow closed her eyes and tried not to fall asleep as Spitfire landed, running a full bore through the enormous front doors. A few moments later, Dash felt herself falling on a large, soft couch on her back. She groaned in pain, her eyes screwed shut. "Dr. Wave! Put that darn muffin down and get over here!" she heard Spitfire yell. There was a clattering of a plate hitting a hard surface, followed by a quick pace of hoofsteps. "Who is this?" asked the hardened voice of a stallion. "Her name is Rainbow Dash. What does it matter? Help her!" "Rainbow Dash," started the male voice. "My name is Dr. Wave. You're going to be all right."
My chest!
Dash groaned.
The stitches must have...
She felt a pair of hooves tear away the gauze grazing the wound. Her chest erupted in a flaming sensation of pain, forcing tears at the corners of her eyes.
Wave, be careful!
Spitfire spat. "Sorry. I'll get this open and closed again. You're going to need a few stitches in this, but first I'm going to clean up the blood."
What?
Rainbow Dash opened her eyes, not bothering to take in her surroundings, but merely her own body. The wound had opened right up, bleeding profusely down her stomach and sides. Dash made the mistake of looking directly at the opening, feeling nauseous at the sight. She reeled her head back onto the pillow, staring at the light burgundy ceiling. "It's all right, Dash. Wave is the Wonderbolt's official caretaker. He'll make sure you're all right," said Spitfire reassuringly. Rainbow Dash looked at her, gasping when she saw blood covering her back and dripping down her side. She had gotten her blood all over her idol's coat. The Wonderbolt traced her gaze, giving her a small smile. "Don't worry about me. I'll wash it out." Rainbow tried her best to smile until she felt a wet cloth scrub at her wound. Her pride kept her from crying out in pain in front of her hero, although she did grit her teeth and close her eyes. Her brain swam, spinning fast enough for her to faint. Rainbow fought for her consciousness, tired of passing out again and again. It felt like hours for Dr. Wave to finish his work. He cleaned the cut, removed the old stitches, and applied his own with magic. He protected it with a fresh bandage, wrapping it around the Scion Pegasus several times for extra support. Rainbow Dash lay on her side, facing Spitfire, whom was sitting on a chair across from the couch. They were in a lavish sitting room, the colors themed of various reds and whites. The white carpet looked thick and plush, almost like a vast cloud. Rather fitting for a team of Pegasi. Between them was a large, ornate wooden coffee table with hoof-carved scrollwork around the sides. Upon the surface was a cup, with some sort of steaming liquid filled to the brim. Spitfire smiled at her, Dr. Wave standing next to Dash. The unicorn looked middle-aged. A short white mane stood atop a charcoal gray coat. His eyes held a look of empathy, looking as if her condition didn't matter to him. "Miss Dash," he started. "I would advise you not to overexert yourself again until that cut is completely healed. Understood?" Rainbow nodded meekly, unaware of why the doctor was so agitated. He gave Spitfire a short bow and left the room, exiting through the large doorway to the right. "Don't mind him," said Spitfire in a hushed voice. "He used to be in the army. He retired and then joined our team."
"No, it's okay,"
said Dash.
"I don't mind. I'm just grateful. Thank you for bringing me here."
"Hey, us flyers have to help each other out, eh?" The Wonderbolt smiled. "So are you going to tell me what happened?" Rainbow felt her face grow hot, looking around the sitting room for any other pony. "Don't worry. Soren and all the others are asleep upstairs. We're alone." Dash felt uneasy, looking down and pressing a hoof against the carpeting. It was softer than it looked.
"Why do you want to know? Why do you want to know about me?"
she asked, sincerely unaware why the captain of the Wonderbolts was so interested in her, a simple fan, and her problems. Spitfire crossed her hind legs as she sat back in the chair. "Well, for one, I can't sleep. 2, I feel bad for ditching you at the gala. Sorry about that, by the way. We had to mingle with the bigwigs 'cause our manager said so. 3, you saved my life, along with Soren's and Misty's. 4, I care about our fans, especially you. You've got talent, Dash, a real raw talent, and I'd hate to see you fall from the face of the earth. And never mind the fact that I went through what you're going through. Is that enough of an answer for you?" Rainbow's heart soared for the first time in weeks. She smiled in appreciation, her lower lip trembling. Dash put her tears aside and began her story. It wasn't as easy to tell Spitfire as it was Fluttershy, her longtime friend. Still, she focused on the words, never looking at Spitfire. Once she finished, she took a sip of the hot tea and gave her idol a glance. Spitfire's expression was solemn but caring, as if a younger sister had been diagnosed with a terminal illness. Rainbow felt guilty for making her so sad. Who was she to burden a Wonderbolt with her problems? "Okay," she started after exhaling. "Maybe I didn't go through that, but it was similar."
"I'm sorry."
"No, don't be sorry. I'm here to help. You're not alone, you know. My mare friend was straight before we got together. She lives in Cloudsdale, so I can visit her whenever we're not on tour."
"What happened?"
asked Rainbow, incredibly curious. Spitfire gave her a cross look. "Well, that's none of your business," she spat out of nowhere. Dash recoiled. The Wonderbolt smiled before chuckling a little. "Nah, I'm just joking. I met Starsong on one of our shows in Canterlot. To the others, she was a fan asking for an autograph. To me, she was stunning. I had just found out about myself 2 weeks before, and that feeling was something I didn't recognize. I gave her my signature and we talked a while. After that, we became pretty good friends. I wanted to ask her out, but I knew she was, well, into stallions. It was hard. It was really hard. One day I confessed my feelings to her, and she rejected me. We didn't talk for a while until one day she knocked on my door. She told me that it was worth a shot. One thing led to another, and we started dating. We've been together for over a year now." Rainbow Dash was stunned. Her idol went through a very similar situation to hers. But Spitfire's relationship worked out. Dash's never could. She shared her thoughts with the yellow mare. "How do you know?" "It's only been, a few hours? Give it time, Dash. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Then, if not, then it's not. Spitfire's words were incredibly helpful, even if they were unbearably true. She was right. Nowhere near enough time had passed for her worries to be this prominent. Dash was merely overreacting. Her life wasn't over like she had thought. She just needed to give it time. For all Rainbow Dash knew, Applejack could see her in the same way. Eventually. Maybe.
Who am I kidding?
She thought. Applejack had told her that she didn't approve of mares being together. Dash's sudden elation was once again crushed by a divine hopelessness.
Did Starsong disapprove of mares being together too?
Asked Rainbow, her eyes half focused on the carpet below. Spitfire's face fell. Oh, she's that old-fashioned? Well, it could still happen. Give it a little hope. But Rainbow Dash had run out of hope.
I wish I could,
she said in a whisper that could rival Fluttershy's. Thankfully, Spitfire never heard a word of it. But don't you worry about your job, she started. I can pull some strings. Do you want another position in the weather? Rainbow Dash jerked her head up. Did she mean that? Would Spitfire really use her connections to get her another job? No, she thought.
I can't use her like that. I really appreciate that, but it's all right. I have a problem with taking help like that. I'll find something.
Proud sort of mare, eh? I get that, Spitfire replied. Well, tell you what. I still owe you one for saving my life, and so does Soren and Misty. If you ever need anything, don't hesitate to ask me.
Thanks,
was all Dash could say. This wasn't good. Not even her hero. This wasn't good. Not even her hero, a mare that Rainbow Dash had always wanted to converse with, could quell her depression. What would she do now? Her thoughts went back to the cloud she had sat upon before the Wonderbolt had found her. She hoped that Spitfire hadn't overheard her words to her past parents. Rainbow Dash sat up slowly, careful not to overexert her chest. Spitfire gave her a worried look, but relaxed once Dash had succeeded.
Thanks again, Spitfire, for everything, but I should get home.
Are you sure you're okay to fly? You know that's a muscle that flexes along with your wings, said the Wonderbolt. Rainbow stopped before trying to stand. She hadn't thought of that. Her home was only a 10-minute flight away, but even taking off was a risk she couldn't afford to take. Dash slumped onto her haunches, sighing heavily. I wouldn't try it either. Don't worry, said the Yellow Pegasus. You want me to fly you back?
Oh no, you don't have to do that.
Well, I'm gonna. Come on. You look like you need a lot of sleep, said Spitfire, standing up and stretching her wings. Rainbow smiled and followed her out. Spitfire flew slow this time, not having to rush Dash into care. When they arrived at her cloud home over Ponyville, Rainbow climbed off her back.
Thank you so much, Spitfire. I can't tell you how much I appreciate what you did.
Rainbow smiled. Hey, I can't leave our #1 fan hanging, she replied. Look, I'll leave you with this. No matter what happens between you and Applejack, you know that you are still you. You're a strong flyer, and even a stronger mare. First love is always difficult, and it is never easy. You'll get back on your feet. Don't worry about it. Even if Applejack never feels the same way, you'll have plenty of good choices.
Thanks, but why would I have choices? What do you mean by that?
Spitfire answered by wrapping her forehooves around her neck, catching Dash off guard. When she let her go, she replied, "Because you're adorable." With that, the captain of the Wonderbolts flew off into the starlit night, leaving Rainbow Dash to feel a single, happy tear roll down her cheek. This ends